Welcome to this video. This is a relatively cheap gaming PC build and is best for gamers who are on a low budget but also want the highest performance that they can get. And this build is capable of running all games and on mid to high settings. If you're still unsure what this gaming PC is capable of, I can tell you this. Its performance is comparable to gaming laptops that cost around $1,000. So let's start off with the CPU of this build. It is the AMD Athlon X4 860K. It has 4 cores and runs at a core clock speed of 3.7 GHz. Now that is extremely impressive for an $84 CPU. Now just to put the CPU's performance in perspective, I'm going to compare to the Intel Core i7 5960X. Now the 5960X costs around $1,000. It has a benchmark score of around 16,000, while the AMD Athlon X4 860K has a benchmark score of around 6,000. So in other words, the AMD Athlon X4 860K, which only costs about $84, runs at about 1/3 the performance of the Intel Core i7 5960X. Now you're getting about 1/3 the performance of a $1,000 CPU at about 1/10 the price, which is extremely good. And if you don't know, benchmarks essentially just assess the performance of something like a CPU or a GPU. So this CPU is considered a high-end CPU. It's really cheap, only $84, and it'll be great for our build because we want high performance for a low price. So up next is the GPU of this build. So we're going to be using the PowerColor AX-R9 270. It has 2 GB of GDDR5 memory and uses the Radeon R9 270 chipset, which is an excellent chipset. It runs at a core clock speed of 930 MHz. Now just to show you how good this GPU is, let's compare it to the GeForce GTX 980. The GeForce GTX 980 costs around $600 and has a benchmark score of around 1,000. Now our PowerColor GPU that only costs around $130 uses the Radeon R9 270 chipset and has a benchmark score of around 4,000. Now that's about half the benchmark score of the GeForce GTX 980, which costs around $600. So you're getting about half the performance for about 1/5 the price of the GeForce GTX 980. Now that's an excellent deal. And just so you guys know, I am avoiding comparing the benchmark scores to really overpriced crappy products. And the website that I'm using to compare benchmarks will be listed in the description below, so you can check them out yourself. Okay, so our motherboard is the MSI A7 8M E35. It's pretty cheap, only $55, but then again, AMD motherboards are cheaper than Intel motherboards. It supports up to 32 GB of RAM, which is more than enough for gaming. It also has 2 USB 3.0 ports, which is great, and also has great reviews, just like all of the products that are going to be in this build. So this is a very standard, cheap motherboard, but it fills our needs. We have a great team RAM set for this build. It is 1 8GB stick. It has low latency and high speed, which is what we need for gaming. But not just for gaming, that's great for editing and just about everything else. Just a side note, 2 4GB sticks are better than just 1 8GB stick, but we couldn't afford to put 2 into our build this time, but that's okay because this works just fine. Our case is the Rosewool FBM1. It is extremely cheap for only $25. It is a micro ATX mini tower case. It looks decent, it isn't anything special, but that doesn't matter because it doesn't affect our system. The case is just for looks, and that's why I had to cheap out on it, so we could get a better GPU and a better CPU for our performance. If you want a nicer looking case, by all means spend a little bit more, but if it's not in your budget, we'll have to do with this case. It's not that bad, it has great reviews. Our hard drive is the very popular Western Digital WD10EZEX. I use this hard drive a lot in my builds because it is 1 TB, runs at the speed of 7,200 RPM, and is SATA 6 GB per second. Again, this is a very standard hard drive, nothing too special, but that's fine because this is all that we need and we're on a budget. And for our last component, the EVGA 100B10 500KR power supply. It's a 500 watt PSU and it's 80+ bronze certified, which means it has great efficiency, that's awesome, and it's only $33. Just a great power supply for our build. And as of November 1st, the total comes to $442.94. If you liked my video, you can like the video, it helps. And if you want to see any of my other videos or upcoming videos, you can always subscribe. Thanks for watching.